Welcome. So I'm going to be talking about why many of us in the spiritual community are being silenced, why David Icke and Sasha Stone and people like myself, small, very, very tiny content creators like myself are being silenced by the machine. And why you'll notice that a true spiritualist, and I'm going to call it out, we talk about racism, social issues, injustice, wars, peace, famine, engineered lack, and the 1%. While we talk about the ascension, the various levels of consciousness, other planets, incarnations on other planets as various tribes of starseeds, Andromedans, Arcturians, Lyrans, Pleiadians, Venusians. I could go on. You get the picture. Why are we being silenced? Now, quite often I've talked about the New Age movement, which was, created by certain forces. One is called Edgar Cayce. You've heard of him. He's also known as the Sleeping Prophet. And I never thought I'd say this, but I've been a follower of Lee Harris, who I really adore, who is a channeler. He channels the 3 Z's. And in his book titled The Human, I think it's called The Human, I forgot. Anyway, it's newest book written with Regina Meredith. He downloads and he says something that really troubled me. So let me back up and kind of give you the foundational beginnings of my thoughts. At the age of 14, 15, in the 1970s, my mother was buying a lot of books on what we would call today the New Age movement. And books by Ruth Montgomery, Rampati Lapsang, and various other books on the evolution, where we came from, where we were going, things of that nature. And one of the books I read about was about the Sleeping Prophet, aka Edgar Cayce. And Edgar Cayce is constantly talked about as the guy of, the New Age movement. Well, I'm going to tell you something, what happened at 14. At 14, I read his take on Egypt. And now Edgar Cayce was an influence in the latter part of the 19th century. And in the 19th century, there was what I'm going to call a whitewashing of Egypt. They called it the Orient, O-R-I-E-N-T, instead of Africa. Egypt is in Africa. No matter how you slice it, it's fucking in Africa. But anyway. And in spite of the hieroglyphs, the statues of the mummies with braided hair, the argument has been that, oh, look, we got King Ramses got red hair. They used henna. And so when your hair turns white and you die, you put henna on your hair to prevent it from getting lice. It turns red, carrot red. So it's like red hair. But let's not forget the Aborigines and tribes around the world that have the Fijians. They have red hair. They have blonde hair. They have green eyes. So let's move on. Anyway, the level of stupid in some of these supposed high educational systems, the great scholars of that age in the 19th century had decided that for them to make sense of slavery, right, that they had to whitewash the Egyptians. They had to, because imagine you're enslaving people that look like what you're seeing on the walls of Egypt. So, and this is not white guilt here, and this is not black guilt here, or fatigue. I don't give a fuck. We're just talking about facts. So I'm kind of giving you a foundational system of what I knew, even at 14. So I'm reading about Edgar Cayce saying that only Aryans have spiritual integrity and spiritual psychic powers and have a third eye opening. Now, during the 19th century, there were the 5 races that he talked about: black, yellow, red, white, and I forgot the last one, whatever. Okay. And brown, and brown. Okay. And there was a hierarchy to these races. This was very, very promoted in the 19th century, which spilled into the 20th century. Now, what does that mean? Well, so Edgar Cayce supposedly is channeling. Do you understand what channeling means? It means that you've got beings, entities that have taken over your body in a good way, right? And who are using your throat chakra as a conduit to speak. Supposedly that's what Bashar is. Okay. And so this is what Lee Harris says. And so what happens is he's talking as the sleeping prophet, as the New Age architect, that people who are not of Aryan descent are not psychically gifted. Now, let's continue. In the concept of the Aryan privilege of, this idea that they're the ones who built the pyramids, his argument was that, it wasn't even an argument, it was his download. He was saying, I'm being channeled by these incredible forces who were telling me that it was the Atlantean people who built Egypt and the pyramids of Giza and the Sphinx, and that they were white. All the Atlanteans were white. Okay, well, let me just say something, okay? I've had people go into hypnotherapy who have actually seen the pyramids being built with humans, and the co-architects were Andromedans. And Andromedans come in all colors, by the way, on the side note. But also, I've seen the Atlantean people. And some of the Atlantean people were intermarrying with one of the marriages. Oh, it wasn't even a marriage. It was a bonding ceremony. And I've talked about it in the past. Was with a Pleiadian. With a human, what you would call an Atlantean woman. Okay? So Edgar Cayce, right off the bat, isn't downloading anything, because racism is not something that any of the higher level souls on the other side of the veils, the guiding souls, would ever promote or say. So what was happening with Edgar Cayce is that he wasn't downloading anything. He was formulating an opinion from the 3D grid of a platform, of a template of massive racism that was literally influencing the very birthing of the New Age movement. Now, because I'm, curious, I knew there would be contemporaries that would not be for this bullshit. And again, don't ever forget the Hopi prophecy. What did the Hopi people say? The rainbow children will come together. What do rainbow children means? All races, all creeds, all cultures, all religions. When the oceans are polluted, when the sky is filled with poison, when the nature falls apart, the rainbow children would gather together to save the planet. I'm paraphrasing the Hopi prophecy, but that is pure download. This is pure download. In other words, it's uncorrupted by societies more. Even their society had no racism. Do you get what I'm saying? Okay. And this is important because the New Age community has failed people who are being born right now, or people that were born in the 50s and 60s that were going through the Great Awakenings, okay? So, and I'll explain to you how it all ties into Lee Harris, because this is a concern to me. And so he talks about, Edgar Cayce talks about that. And then I asked my AI, my Mistral AI, Mistral, it's French. And I said, tell me, who was a contemporary that did not believe this? You know who they said? And I was in shock. It shocked me. It kicked me in the ass. In a good way. It woke me up. Helen Blavatsky said that God, that the entity who created us, never sees our color or creed, that it sees our souls, that our souls is the most important pure truth, and that we will incarnate in various races, various creeds, colors, and cultures, but it has nothing to do with the truth of our soul. And as I went down the list of contemporaries, which I don't have the list right now, I'm talking from the top of my head, like I always do, which I apologize. I think I'm going to share with you when I upload this on YouTube. I will share with you exactly what was shared with me, so you can see the list of people and their quotes of how race has no bearings on your third eye frequency, on your ability to be psychic, on your ability to remote view, on your ability to heal. But I'm going to say something very politically incorrect. To say that it was the Aryans that had the absolute best psychic ability is insanity to me. Why am I saying that? Because the indigenous people You know, the Irish are kind of different than pretty much a lot of the Aryans. They're not Aryans in the way you think, and I'll tell you why I say that. Because they're not from the Caucasus Mountains. They are not the Persian people, the original people that built what we create or what we call the Aryans. The Aryans are actually Persian people. They're the original. Cyrus the Great, the Aryan, the Caucasus Mountain, aka Caucasian. And this is important. This is important. The Irish are an interesting, different species, which are they're very magical. They're very psychic. And they have always retained their ability to see beyond the veils. It's one of their superpowers. Similarly to Africans, certain African tribes, similarly to some Chinese people in various parts of China, similarly to, East Asia. Oh, here we go again with the little, the little band of restriction, because God forbid I should say something that's going to help people wake up. God forbid. So my life has been restricted by 10 minutes by TikTok. Please share this live when it's on YouTube. Fucking share the fuck out of it. So similarly, because to people in the parts of the UK like Scotland, Wales, and you get the picture. Gaul, parts of Gaul, which is France today, and definitely the Americas. Definitely the Americas. You have indigenous people of the lands of Americas, from Canada, North America, all the way down to the southern parts of America, who were highly spiritual, highly psychic. Some did it for the right reasons, and some were doing evil shit. Let's be honest. There was sacrifice. And that was across the world, by the way. Sacrifice was something done all over the world, from Ireland to Rome to, I'm not going to just give you the list. You get all over the world. Okay, there was a time when we did some nefarious shit for power, to harness power. So let me go back. I digress from Edgar Cayce. So he is the sleeping prophet, saying and pushing and promoting this idea of white supremacy in the New Age movement. That is its birth. That is how it began. And that is problematic. Because when Lee Harris said and it was shocking to me because I was just sampling the book. Just so you know, I was sampling the book trying to decide if I wanted to buy his book on his channeling with the 3 Z's. And guess what page of all the pages in that book? Let's say it's a 300-page book. That page of Edgar Cayce. And I went, wait, hang on, what? And in that, the 3 Z's say, Edgar Cayce was ahead of his time. What? Ahead of his time? Are you fucking kidding me? He was of his time. In the 19th century, racism in anthropology, in Egyptology, was fraught with an agenda to oppress, suppress the innate birthright and the sovereignty of certain indigenous people's innate powers, gifts, if you will, oppressed. God forbid we should chain human beings that might have built these structures in Egypt. And by the way, pyramids are all over the world and they're beneath the ocean. We know this. We know this because these were systems of keeping the integrity of this planet balanced. And now that we know about the Schumann resonance and all of its magic, we know that ultimately its frequency of the single compound number 9, God's master number. And if you've ever studied any of my 9, you can look at my numerology. I briefly talk about 9 and the power of 9. Look at my numerology videos and you'll understand what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go into it today. I don't want to go off track again and again. But why is it important to understand that we are not our race, number one? Our race, if you were born Chinese and you were born Tibetan or mixed Tibetan and Chinese, or if you were born Japanese and African American or African, that does not define the power of your soul. Your soul defines the power of the avatar you inhabit. I can drop a Rolls-Royce engine in a Ford body. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay? And what that means is I can take something, an avatar, which Ada Huxley talks about. I keep bringing up this book again and again, the Brave New World, where the beta, he's been created as a beta with lack of oxygen. Read the book, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And though he has been prevented to have the oxygen to have the level of IQ, right, of intelligence, somehow his soul pierces through this kind of perceived challenge. So what you're born in doesn't define you. This is why you have people who have been homeless, who survived massive wars where they should have never survived. Like I met this young man who had survived the Rwanda Geno, who had kept quiet, played dead, if you will, and somehow got to this country. He survived the impossible, and got to this country and built a new life. He was an orphan. Somehow people helped him along the way. And here was this young man I met at 21 who had survived the most egregious trauma one can ever survive. God bless him. And why am I saying all that? Because for Edgar Cayce to be known as the sleeping prophet, to still be studied, to still be admired with this racist agenda is harmful to our ascension. You'll hear me quite often say that there are 3D templates we can no longer listen to or read anymore. We need to throw that shit in the trash. And Edgar Cayce is one of them, because at this point, if a download is corrupted to that level, right, then I can't trust anything else. Then I have to look at documents, because a lot of them say, oh, he was very good and coming up with healing, and he was good with herbs and this. I don't know if that's true, because shit can be manipulated. Because Edgar Cayce and his books became a cash cow. It's similar to the Van Gogh paintings that are fake. There are about 34, Paris Match, it's a magazine like Life magazine. Paris Match did an article on the fact that there's about, I think it's about 34 paintings that are fake, that are Van Gogh fakes. They know it's fake, but they've been sold so often that now they're like, what the fuck? Because there's so much money involved in each painting that keeps getting sold for 20 million, 40 million, 50 million. They know they're fake, but it's too late now. That keeps getting sold for 20 million, 40 million, 50 million. They know they're fake, but it's too late now. You can't refute one thing, because at that point, the whole column, the whole structure collapses. But I'm here to tell you, it has to collapse. Because when Helen Blavatsky, who I never really liked, but after hearing her, because I was shocked, I didn't know she was that open-minded and solid in understanding that the soul is not tied to its race, because the race of any individual is a temporary avatar. It's temporary. I don't care if you're blue, polka dot, orange. I don't give a fuck what you are. You're not superior. And the concept of supremacy in New Age is one of the problems we're going to have to fucking take a sledgehammer to, or transmute. You can either be a Taurus like me, or you can be a Pisces Scorpio that transmutes the energies into sand and let it blow by the wind of time, the wind of change. That's massively important for our evolution as a people. Do you understand? It is no different than religions thinking that women are weak, that when we incarnated women, we are being punished. Do you realize religions do that? They have said to us, you are below me because you are a woman. You are below me because you were born a woman. That means you are being punished karmically, and the punishment was due to be a woman. What's the difference between and that? Gender supremacy and race supremacy. What is the difference? They're both evil. They're both evil. And they are preventing people from growing. I beseech you to actually talk about this. Look it up if you're using ChatGPT, go ahead, look it up. And then demand ChatGPT, if that's what you're using, or any AI intelligence system, and say, what were the people who were against that supremacist New Age movement? Who was definitely opposed? Well, Marianne Williamson is one of them, of course, but she's more of a contemporary. And there are other names which I will definitely post when I put this YouTube on, this live on my YouTube. But my point to you is that now the question now begs, now hopefully you're following me. If Lee Harris is really, and I love Lee Harris, but I have a question for you, Lee Harris. If you're channeling the 3 Z's, How could they ever mention Edgar Cayce as ahead of his time? I don't care if it's about herbs and herbs and diagnosis of illness. Those things could have been manufactured. Oh, the letters of testimonials. I get testimonials all the time as well. So what? The 4,000, who knows? Who fucking knows the truth? Because that is not a small corrupted download. That's pretty big. That's a very big corrupted download. And to be fair, Edgar Cayce was a product of the racist ideology of this country. Fuck. And if he had been a true spiritualist, he would have stepped ahead of that. He would have sidestepped supremacy of any kind. So that's the question. And we are being asked to basically, like Yeshua did, kick the tables over and say, this does not resonate with where we're going. We are moving into the 21st century, out of Kali Yuga into Satya Yuga. The golden age of humanity does not have white supremacy. It doesn't have black supremacy. It doesn't have yellow supremacy, nor red supremacy, nor brown supremacy. Any supremacy is not spiritually aligned. God is not a race. Okay, God is not a race. The universe is not a race. I mean, am I wrong? And so my question to Lee Harris is, what are you channeling, man? What are you fucking channeling? Because a lot of fucking people I'm seeing, and I've actually channeled a couple times, and it's very much like Ghost and Whoopi Goldberg. I don't like it. I don't fucking like it. So what I do is I download. It's called stream of consciousness downloading. And to be honest with you, it's just as powerful as channeling in the strange voices. In those strange, I'm here now. What is your question? Stream of consciousness is real. And see, she's saying some real shit on some stuff, right? She's like super powerful, but because she's transgender, I'm going to be straight up. She's not fucking going viral because she doesn't fit the mold. You have to understand that the spiritual community is like MTV. You got to look a certain way and they'll package you up and sell you, and your books will sell. So us who are irreverent, us who question, us who kick down the doors and turn over the merchants' tables, us who say, doesn't sound right to me, we're not popular with the machine. And what's really sad to me, is that though I have wonderful people of color, white people, who are amazing and highly evolved souls who understand everything I said. They're like, yeah, I know. What's the problem? I don't get it. Is there a problem? Yeah, you're right. I mean, they agree because pure truth is pure truth. There is no ego involved, no supremacy involved. I don't claim to be a fractal of Mary Magdalene. I don't claim to have the bloodline of Yeshua. I don't claim to be a high spiritual, royal, blooded soul from fucking Christ. No. This journey, we are walking together, shoulder to shoulder, equal in the excavations that we need to undertake with courage and with irreverence to the old oligarchs. Okay? And we have to be willing to say, yeah, no, I don't think so. And Yeshua, this is why I love Yeshua. I love him because he said, what did he say? Do not read the Old Testament. I am the truth. I am the way. And you will outdo me. That's the other thing he said. You will outdo me. Because what does a parent, a guide, a guru want? They want you to outdo them. If they are loving and true, they want you to be more powerful than they ever were. That's the goal of a true guru, a good teacher. They always want you to outdo them for the greater good of the consciousness. That's just how it is. And if they don't, if they're jealous of you, then they need to sit down in some deep meditation, fasting from the world and fasting even from food to say, what's wrong with me that I'm competing with my own students? What the fuck is going on here? And that does happen. It's something that the human ego struggles with, is to conquer, to own, to compete, to win, to be the number one, to be the best. This is unfortunately one of the things that we have to master in ourselves. It's a massive battle of the ego and the soul. And the soul is quiet and witnesses how well we're going to do in our journey of eradicating the ego. Not eradicating to destroy it, but eradicating that snake-like egoic need to be number one, to be the winner at all costs. This is a real problem. You see? And so this is why I've been pushing you and pushing you and pushing you. Buy books from small press. Buy books from small content creators. I can't speak about Vera Austin's book, The Language of Water. Well, look it up on my YouTube. It's there. You'll see the cover of the book. Just scroll through my shit. Just take a moment to scroll through it. You'll see. I'm reading 28 minutes of it. Buy the book. It's $74. I bought the book. And trust me, it was like, I was gritting my teeth. And when I got that fucking massive book, I was like, holy shit. This is a masterpiece. It's like a masterpiece. And for her to do it her way without any bullshit from editors, publishers who all want the bottom line. What's the bottom line? Profit, profit, profit. Less colored pictures, less pictures. She had to do it herself. And she probably also did it herself because she was not going to get published. A lot of the great works, even back into some of the great writings you take for granted today, they were self-published in the beginning. Anais Nin, who is one of the great erotic writers of our time, Anais Nin, she published Delta of Venus on her own with a little crank press in New York City at the age of, how old was she? I think she was like late 60s, early 70s, until Gore Vidal fucking discovered her book in a little cocktail party. Somebody mentioned her book. He read it and went, holy fuck. And he got her to a correct publishing house. And she became the queen of erotica. I mean, so it's not new what I'm telling you. The problem is it's getting more egregious, though. It is getting more egregious. So I'm really highly, highly recommending you buy small press, self-publish. Those are the truth tellers. Those are the light wayfarers. Those are the ones with the torch of truth. They are not writing those books to make money. You're not paying their mortgage or rent buying their books. Their offering is a service to you, to the collective. They might make at most $1,000 a month. You get what I'm saying? So please try to make an effort to look. If you seek truth, find truth. And it's not being mass published. Okay? It really isn't. Okay? Most of these incredible people are, either came on inherited money or whatever. Some of them are selling classes to make their life possible. Do you understand? I mean, that is what happens to people who are outside the grid. It's no different than the old villages where they had the healers outside the village in little huts, little cabins away, like maybe, I don't know, a half hour away from the village to be in their peace. And then the villagers, when they had ailments or needs, or they needed a midwife or whatever they needed, or, whatever, they would go to the healer, walk to the healer, and exchange healing herbs or healing medicines or whatever, right? Or touch healing to trade for chicken or for a basket of fruit, vegetables. I mean, this is how it was done. So it's not like it's a new thing. We've always had to be on the outskirts of society. We could never live with society. Why? Well, because some people were scared of us. They thought we were witches, remember? They thought we had some kind of demonic thing, possession. It's like, so people who know things scare people. And I'm not sure why. But yet the minute the shit hits the fan and your child has 105 fever, you're like running to the healer. Oh my God, heal my child. I don't want to lose my child. So it's a weird thing that I think what I'm glad to report, in my opinion, from what I'm gathering, is that it's a weird kind of fear that is finally getting diluted with the mass awakening that's happening across the world. So it's a win. But I'm going to tell you something. Okay? Going back to Lee Harris. God bless him. I love him. He's such a good man. Okay? But, and I do love him. But what I will say, oh my God, God forbid I should, they're restricting my TikTok once again. So it will not be visible to outside people. You and I are in a private room for 10 minutes. So, the fact that he downloaded Edgar Cayce like that is a concern. Because if you're really downloading and channeling powerful souls on the other side, they would know never to have picked him as the man of the man. And the excuse that he was an herbalist, that he understood that he could diagnose people's illnesses, doesn't preclude racism. That does not, how do I put this? Racism in any context in spirituality is never, ever, ever to be accepted. Never. Supremacy of any kind cannot be accepted. Okay? So I'm going to tell you who, if you want to read books on herbalism and ancient knowledge of healing. Because it's funny how they keep talking about how he was so great with herbs and so great with healing, but yet there's no books that say Healing Methods by Edgar Cayce. I've yet to see the book. If I'm wrong, fucking call me out on it. But let me continue. Hildegard, the Mother Superior, who not only wrote the most incredible music in the Middle Ages, Dark Ages actually, Hildegard. She was an herbalist. She kept an apothecary. There's a book called Back to Eden by I think it's Jeffro something. Forgot his last name. But the book is called Back to Eden. That book is massive. My beloved loved that book. He had that book from the 1960s, and it's a very, very old book that has all of the ancient ways. Arnold Ehrhart was a Swiss a fruitarian who wrote one of the most famous book called The Musculus Diet and Rational Fasting, Arnold Ehrhart. Those are the three that I would recommend. And none of them talk about white supremacy, black supremacy, any supremacy over, blue supremacy or red supremacy. There's none of that. It's pure knowledge. That's it. Okay? And as you know, the Bible has been used to create and to suppress other people. And this is something that we have to be highly, 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 not paranoid, not guilt-ridden, depending on which bodies, which culture, which bloodline you've chosen in this incarnation. Do you understand? We've been every race. And we've done it again and again in every mixture you can imagine. Again and again and again. Technically, there is no pure race. Okay? Technically. There is none of that. But whatever. But in our evolution, if we really want to get to 5D, if we really want to ascend, if we really want to make it out of the machine of the 3D controlled by the oligarchs, supremacy is not a conversation to be had. Do you understand? It is never going to be a match. This is a place of hate. This is a place of jealousy, hate. It's dangerous. It doesn't work. When people tell me, oh, my father's old-fashioned, I said, you mean he's racist? That's not old-fashioned. Because Alexander the Great married a Persian princess. All of his generals, when they took Persia, and they didn't know about the Aryan thing yet, just so you know on the side note. But they also Tomeli married into the Egyptian and established the new pharaoh line I mean, the fact that people think that the Tomeli line, which was General Tomeli, married each other, brother and sister, for 300 years, apparently they don't understand genetics. Go to the Appalachian Mountains, see how that looks. Doesn't look good. The fact that these pharaohs always had harems, the fact that Cleopatra knew Egyptian, none of the pharaohs had ever known Egyptian, she did, speaks to the fact that her mother was a local indigenous woman. What do you think? They just kept interbreeding and intermarrying for 300 years? So supremacy is a stupidest thing I've ever seen. The Romans would intermarry. The Romans intermarried. They intermarried because of love, because of desire, because of money, because of property. They didn't just marry Italians. Italians is like a mishpoch of races. I mean, this is known. I mean, I don't understand why this is a problem for people to not understand, okay? And why is all of this important? It actually, ultimately, if we were a good society that had some fucking common sense, it would not be important. In fact, it shouldn't be important. None of what I've just said should be absolutely in discussion. I shouldn't have to put this shit on the table. I've avoided it for years because race talk makes people very uncomfortable. You know, fuck, some men can't even fathom having been incarnated as women, and some women can't even fathom being incarnated as men. Can you imagine? And some people can't imagine being an opposite race. They think they've always been whatever race they are today. Always. I always came back as a woman, and I was always Norwegian. I was always African. I was always Chinese. Okay, how does that work? What are you learning? Not understanding the mechanism of reincarnation. It's like amazing to me. And I don't know what else to say. I mean, how can I add to this? You know, I'm going to read your comments because I'm really curious to read your comments. Hang on, let me see if you have any comments. I'd love to read them. And let's see here. Any comments here? Let me see. I'm out of disconnection and I don't want any connection. I leave because I don't want the people. Yeah. What folks made the voice, it always has that snake of salesman feel. I cut this man out of my life. Okay, I don't want to, please keep on the comments. I mean, if you're going to comment, just keep on the subject, please, if you don't mind. Don't just randomly say something to say something. It's almost like cutting into a conversation in a party. All right, listen. Mama Yeti, you asked a good question. Why is it, I'm paraphrasing because I've scrolled on, why do they have these weird voices? I don't know. I've actually seen people literally move their whole body and doing weird things with their necks as if it's performative. It is snake oil performative bullshit. It is salesman, okay? So, but I have to say Roxanne, who is a channeler. You can look her up. You can go on Gaia.com. I'm not a fan of Gaia.com anymore. You probably know this by now. But you can go on Gaia.com and look up Roxanne, and you will see her, how she channels. And when he was a man, because he was a man, he was a car salesman, up in the East Coast, I forgot where in, I think New York State, actually. And his evolution, his third eye opening, and he actually he channels his future self. But he's written very interesting cuneiform lettering. It's extraordinary. Okay, so I mean, I don't agree on everything he downloads. He's very much pro. I'm not part of the machine. I'm not going to talk about war. I'm not going to talk about famine. I'm not a fan of that, but I will support her because she talks about the evolution in consciousness. And maybe for her, that's what she needs to do in this incarnation. But she is probably one of the people that I would say. I have a client who's incredibly sensitive young man. And I had referred him back to Adam Apollo. And Adam Apollo felt right at the time. And Adam Apollo, he said, I feel like he's kind of like something happened. I went, you know what? And then I revisited some of the earlier, more recent videos. And some of these people are turning. They're turning. more recent videos, and some of these people are churning. They're churning. Has corrupted them. It could be money, it could be fame, but something has corrupted them. I believe that when, as a spiritualist, you start getting a name, that you probably need multiple retreats to reset yourself, and you should always have 1 or 2 Doc holidays to call you out on your bullshit. You should always have someone that says, "Hey, Emperor, you got no clothes, you're naked, you're being an asshole." You should make sure you always have that. And we know what's happening when people don't do that. Look at what's going on in the big house, the big white tea house. He has no clothes. The Emperor Nero has no clothes, and no one's saying anything. Do you understand? Everyone, oh, yes, yeah, oh, bravo, bravo. Yeah, you don't want that in the spiritual community. You want leaders, right? Teachers. I'm not even going to use the word leader, because that's teachers, elders, highly evolved souls that are going to pass the torch to as many people as possible. And they're not going to allow their ego to eat up the truth of their downloads. You understand? So that they start having corrupted downloads. The fact that Regina Meredith is interviewing him and in this book, right? And look, and there comes Edgar Cayce as the most advanced, ahead of his time, with the supremacy shit coming out of his mouth. That's insane. And Lee Harris, at least in the last time I heard, he was married to an African-American man. I don't know if they're still married, but they were doing. I've even taken classes from Lee Harris, by the way, just so you know. So I have high respect for him. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a good man, a good human being, a good soul. But that was fucking wild to me. That was like, what the fuck? That was a what the fuck moment. And here's the thing. The downloads, the channeling that Harris has have always been nectar. Always been nectar, you see? So I'm wondering if this is a moment where he got a corrupted download. You know how you get white noise? You're trying to get your phone, you can't hear shit, and you get a white noise. I really believe this happens. I know, because I've gotten corrupted downloads during my meditation. And I've talked about it at length. You can look at my videos on YouTube. I talk about all kinds of shit, because I know what the filtering mechanism of the 3D brain in the 3D planet does to, do you understand? To throw you off course. Constantly you're almost always redirecting yourself back on your path. It's like walking against a wind that's 80 miles per hour, and you're like holding your jacket around your ears and pushing against the wind. And then suddenly the wind stops and there's a calm pathway. And then suddenly here comes the wind again, trying to throw you off course, literally throw you to the floor. That's the vision they're giving me right now to share as an analogy. So by no means do I think he's not solid. But I do think that either they're ignorant, because if I had read that, I would have said, maybe we shouldn't publish that. But, I mean, you have editors for a reason. Sometimes I have downloads that I will not share with people. I share with one friend. That's it. And I hold on to it because I'm not sure it's finished, true, or clear. If I have a doubt on a download, I don't share it with the public. I don't just vomit whatever the fuck comes out of my mouth, though it may appear that way to some of you. I don't. And I sat with this on this Edgar Cayce, and I've always known that Edgar Cayce was true blue racist. Always. So I mean, any racist is going to tell me anything about anything on spirituality, I'm like, I'm out the door. That door was closed on your ass a long time ago. I wouldn't read or deal with any of his work. Not when I have, and I'm shocked to say, Helen Blavatsky. She did write a book that you may want to look at called The New Lands. I think that's when she went to Tibet, or she was downloading Tibet. I forgot because I haven't read the book yet. But the point is, you got to ask yourself, why would he be promoted? And the answer should come to you immediately why he would be promoted. Because he was promoting a supremacy over people who were not of his color. And I really wonder about when he died. I'm going to go there, fuck it, because, at this point, I'm downloading. Just, I'm going to tell you what my downloads are showing me. And you can take it or leave it, and that's your prerogative. When he died and he went through a life review, he saw that he had helped people. Trust me, I'm not saying he did not. But then he saw the damage of what he had done. He's back in 3D, I'll tell you that. He did not fucking come out of it. There are a lot of people that died in the 1800s, 1700s. Saint Germain, for example, is a good example. Did not have to come back. So he definitely came back. Because there's no way he would have sat there and seen what he did. Because when you do a life review, just so you know, they've restricted me again. God forbid I should talk about anything. I love that. Thank you, TikTok, for banning me and fucking with my life. I love that. That shows me that I'm on the right track. So when he's going on the other side of the veils, talking to his guides, they're showing him not just this life he was as Edgar Cayce. They're showing him other life incarnations where he was other races and other genders. And they're showing him what he did, what he chose to do, what he chose to accept. Like I said, sometimes you channel shit that doesn't sound right, that doesn't sound pure, and you keep it to your fucking self like I've done. That is the responsibility of a person who channels, who downloads. Keep it to yourself. If it is not all-encompassing, all-loving, if it is judgmental of one people over another, in the way, you know what I mean, of harming people, then you don't release it. The chosen one type shit, many of the spiritualists from the 1800s and the 1900s and the 20s, the 2000s have rejected that premise. There is no chosen one. That is supremacy, and it is vile, and it is corrupt, and it is toxic. And it has no place in the spiritual evolution, because when you die, my friend, you are light. You are not the body you are in, nor any body. However, you can form the kind of energetic field, a plasmic preference. You can do that. But you don't do it from a place of supremacy. Does that make sense? That's what people need to understand about spirituality. And that's the problems we're having. That's why the New Age is something I've put a massive distance between me and the New Age movement. Massive. I'm calling it ancient wisdom. I'm calling it when Atlantis was at its golden age, there was no supremacy whatsoever. What made Atlantis collapse is supremacy rose its ugly snake head with all kinds of weird things being used to manufacture and to use DNA to oppress, enslave, sentient beings. If that makes sense. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm coming from. Anyway, thank you. I gotta go. I got shit to do, but thank you for everything. Thank you for being here. Share the live. It'll be on YouTube today. And I think moving forward, I'll start doing more lives on YouTube. And I'm very interested in doing it more on there, because right now I'm on the TikTok. It's not even shadow banning. It's pure on banning. And it's happening to a lot of people, content creators that are talking about ascension, that are talking about the mindset, talking about the fear of ascension, the fear of the unknown. Please watch my video on why we have not ascended yet. Please watch the video on 5D and the fear of the unknown and the psychology of ascension. There is some psychology behind it. So go check it out. Send you much love.